Welcome to the Captains and Coaches Podcast. We explore the art and science of leadership through the lens of athletics and beyond. I'm your host, Tex McQuilkin, and today I'm excited to talk about an article that I had published in the Beyond Strength Journal of Psychology and Sport. So I was asked to write this article about how I structure and design my practices, not necessarily in the skill development arena, but more of the leadership and the social emotional development for teenagers and college age athletes. So this is a fun article. It was an opportunity for me to put on display these nuances almost between the whistles that coaches can really take advantage of and really develop and explore opportunities for leadership, growth, and expanding their impact as a coach between the whistles. Not these specific drills, not the specific schemes that are taught, but all those moments, the water breaks, the conditioning, all the little things, the warm up especially, which we're going to cover here, all those little things that really take an athlete where they cannot take themselves. And yeah, awesome time. So check it out. Beyond Strength Journal of Psychology and Sport. We're going to explore a little bit of this. So the term I'm going to lean into a lot is social emotional leadership. I first became aware of the concepts that I'm going to introduce today when I was brought in by a company called Kids Strong to develop their coaching technology and help with their replication and certification process. So they were leaning hard into a education developmental tool used by elementary schools called social emotional learning. So there's different components of that we're going to lean in. So it's very interesting because schools utilize this to develop the curriculum for those elementary schools. And as I was learning this, combined with the developmental stages that are present within that age group of children, all these light bulbs started to go off in my brain of all these conflicts and problem labeled kids that I would label. I was definitely wrong in that I would label. And then it was like, oh, they missed this developmental stage. There was a conflict, a fission, a friction going on in their lives when they were meant to learn this developmental milestone when they were in elementary school. And now I'm getting them when they're 16, 18, 20 years old, and they're having conflicts with their team. They don't have a good, healthy relationship with authority. They're butting heads with their teammates. They're fighting over certain things. There's age regressions. They're 18 but acting 8 years old, like they're a brother and sister battling in the backseat of a car on a long road trip. So all these light bulbs started to go off, and then it was an amazing experience to then reflect on my huge coaching career at both the collegiate and the high school levels, and then start to see these connections and now opportunities to really hand tools off to you to help these athletes develop social emotional leadership that they can take into their varsity athletics, they can take into their job, they can take into their college academics, they can take it into life after this when they do step into their first career job or management roles, and later on when they're parents. So we're going to explore a lot about that. And what's interesting within the school work, there's a lot of parents and families that assume that they're going to get these tools at school. And a lot of the tools that I'm going to introduce, schools assume that the kids are getting it at home. But then the kids left in the middle. So there's an opportunity for us as coaches, whether it's within the weight room or the sport court, the field practice, to step in and help solidify that they get opportunities, exposure to these lessons going into that. So we don't want to assume that the kids are getting it at home in school when we receive them at sport. And we get to apply stress to then test and see if there's anything that we learn about these. So again, I mentioned I labeled kids as problems. I've had kids at both high school and college show up to practice drunk. That doesn't sound fun at all. But they're acting out for a reason. They're looking to push back against authority to really test boundaries and search for boundaries. Well, guess what? They found it, right? But at the same time, what approach did I take to help teach those boundaries and those lessons? definitely leaned into the old conditioning factor, especially in their current state. Was that right? Maybe not. But then when you have a kid breaking down and more worried about what they're going to walk into at home, again, like, did I have the toolkit to take on responsibility at that moment to help that kid who we needed the most? My understanding of conditioning and VO2 max, it didn't help me in that moment. So I needed to accept my limitation and think about, okay, how can I help this kid in this moment? So exploring a lot of those tools. So I've made every mistake that I highlighted here within the journal and some of the tools we're practicing here today. And I mean, backing off from coaching in that moment and stepping into mentor and friend, what he needed, that was difficult, but it was an opportunity for me to grow as a man as well and a leader. So aim to understand this and hold on to this. And this is the theme throughout this episode. And this is from my friend Jim Davis at Good Athlete Project, that sports don't teach lessons, coaches do. So it's this opportunity where lacrosse was a sport I was coaching. It did not facilitate what he needed at that time. He needed a coach to step in and help lead them. So think of the weight room, think of the field, think of the court, the sporting arena as the vehicle to then teach these lessons for you. I've had plenty of coaches within my athletic career that they taught us a lot, especially how to build resentment and come together as a team in spite of that coach. That is a lesson in itself, but that's not the coach that I want to be. I want to be there to help bridge that gap and make the memories, because no one's going to remember the scoreboard. Nobody's going to remember your record in 20 years. They're going to hold on to those lessons, positive or negative, that then helped when a certain situation came up that was similar to the conflict or the challenge or the stress that they faced way back in high school. So you need to identify that gap. It's our opportunity as a coach to shine light, and then our responsibility to then help build a bridge across that gap for our athletes. So let's get into the SEL, social emotional learning. The framework that we utilized way back at KidStrong is called CASEL. So within SEL, I like to call this CASEL in Cleats. And the first tool that they aim to accomplish within kids is called self-awareness. Very common practice, and it's talked a lot about. But here's how to really get these teenagers who are so stuck in their cortex, right? Their brain is not fully developed, that we can aim to bring some mindfulness practice to practice, and help them recognize their emotions, recognize their strengths as an athlete. What is their wheelhouse? Level setting on their skill set, and what gaps do they have between where they currently are in their skills and where they want to go. And there is so much emotional growth within acknowledging that you are here, you want to be here. Now I can start to look at my actions and be aware of, okay, are my actions leading towards this ideal, this goal self that I've just created in my mind? So during our warm-up, this is my favorite tool. If you've known me or followed me for a long time, you know that I love the warm-up. If you were one of my athletes, you know that I love the warm-up, and you probably hate me a little bit about it, but hey, it was a memorable moment for you. So within our warm-up, there's a lot of pillar work, right? Laying down on the ground, lifting our legs up, focusing on our trunk, that also challenges our flexibility. So yes, we are working on getting a big, strong trunk for change of direction, but we're also checking in some self-awareness on our ankle tightness, our calf tightness, our hamstring tightness, to see how it was affected from the previous practice. So something to consider. And then me as a coach, I don't want them to just go through the motions during their warm-up. I'm going to call out, I'm not telling them how it feels. I'm asking them, hey, how's that feel? So if I see somebody with uneven flexibility within the right and left leg, then I step in and give them a self-check-in. Hey, how's it feel? I don't tell them that the one leg is tighter than the other. I observe it and then see if they can go into their body, and then feel this imbalance. So love the warm-up for our self-awareness. And then we get into our self-management. And this is, think about impulse control, self-regulation under pressure. I've had plenty of athletes in my career that lost tempers in crucial moments and made mistakes, active aggressively on the field, and then they went into the penalty box. Throughout the length of my sport lacrosse coaching career, coaching defense, I had the decision, okay, well, they're in the penalty box. I need to coach the defense on the field. So rather than trying to shape this behavior in that moment in the box and neglect the athletes that needed me man down on the field, I introduced at practice, when it's a teachable moment, self-management technique with box breathing, right? 4 in, hold for 4, 4 out, hold for 4. Box breathing, pun intended, they're in the penalty box. You just owe me 5 box breaths. Hopefully that's that 30-second penalty that then we can get you back on the field and get you doing what you need to do, want to do to help the team. So self-management tools are introduced during practice that then I can stress. So that could be before 4 minutes of conditioning, or break it up with 1 minute of dead sprints into box breathing, and then finish on with another sprint, another rep at breathing. You're going to lose kids' focus at the time, but we aim to be repetitive with the tool. One of my favorites, and it's very visual, and now for me as a coach who's leading 40 plus dudes, it's 5-finger breathing. This is from Kid Strong again. So reaching this hand out, I'm creating the number 5 here. I'm going to trace my 5 fingers as I go up my thumb. I'm breathing in, then breathing out as I trace down my thumb. Now tracing up on the index finger, I'm breathing up, breathing out on the way down. So if box breathing, which can be hidden if they're not using their hands to actually draw our box, now I can get my 5 fingers up and I'm in and out. And guess what? Thrown this at the penalty box guys. They're varsity athletes. They think this little thing is embarrassing, but depending on the severity of their misconduct on the field, guess what we get to do? More embarrassing stuff, so I'm less likely to repeat the behavior. So they'll hold on to that one. 5 fingers, it's sticky. They'll remember it for when their kid needs some guidance here. So self-management, within that, I love to lean into the conditioning and I test guys. I had this amazing athlete. He's going to be a senior in college, still playing lacrosse right now. And it was November during our fall ball, and we were doing some change in direction, some lateral speed and agility. And to avoid an ampy turner and to get even reps on our left and our right, I asked them on their change of direction, face me the entire time, or face the parking lot, or face the scoreboard. So very deliberate, so we're even with our left and our right change of direction. Well, my buddy here that I'm referencing, he was that ampy turner. He did right change of direction, right change of direction, right change of direction. So he was just running in circles and his left was not getting any love. Well, during our rest period, after the first speed and agility, I gave him the cue, direction, hey, face me the entire time. So as simple and subtle like that. Well, it was November, grew that mustache, not looking pleasant. It's a blonde mustache, which doesn't match the top of my head here. So yeah, he made a colorful comment about my mustache. And in my mind, I'm like, okay, you just effed everybody. So line it up again. And we did a few more reps just to make sure that he was getting even with his left side. So little thing like that, poor self-management at the time, that his team then had to pay for his transgressions. Similar to the experience on the field in a game, if the temper was lost, your team would have to work harder to make up for that. So just calling that out. And that's low social awareness. So the next step we're going here. So we have self-awareness, self-management, and then it's social awareness. Interpersonal dependency, mutual accountability are different ways to frame this, but for the first time in a lot of these guys' career, their performance relies on somebody else. So my performance on the field in a team sport relies on you, and your performance in a team sport. Even what's seemingly individual sports like swimming, there's team points associated with it. So you may not be winning your race, but the higher within a competition that you can finish gets more points for your team, and you're working towards that. So that's an example. But social awareness, I'm aware, self-aware of my abilities. I'm aware of how my decisions affect others around me, and it's also cueing in on my words. So this is where I start to hand off leadership opportunities during our warm-up and our counting especially. So I lean a lot into a military style count. So 1, 2, 3, 1. So if we're doing push-ups, for example, we're going to start up on the up position as a one leader who leads us through it. He's going to say 1, they're going to go down in their push-up. 2, they're going to push up. 3, they're going to go down in the push-up. And then the whole team yells out the number of reps we are. 1. So 1, 2, 3, 4. Excuse me. 1, 2, 3, 2. 1, 2, 3, 3. So even the guys mess it up. I mess it up too. That's okay. So I'm handing off this, and then I start to see how socially or self-conscious aware they are. Right? If they're socially aware and they're looking around to see who's actually doing this or who's not counting, then hey, good thing. Then it's on them to call them out. Usually the seniors are attuned by this point, and they feel when guys aren't counting, and they know more push-ups are coming if we're not meeting coach's expectations. So we get that. If they're so quiet within the count, and they're just afraid of what their senior peers might think of them, hey, they are more self-conscious than socially aware. They're more worried about themselves than how their performance affects the others. So lean a lot into that, and then I step in and mentor within the moment. I can give them a soft cue like louder, or hey, we can't hear you, or Jim on the end, he's not hearing, he's lost. So aiming to tell them different things. It could be somebody else's performance that's leaning in, like Jim over there who's not doing the push-ups, or it can be simple, hey, if they're too self-conscious, then, hey, a little bit louder, I can't hear you. So little things like that to help them get out of their own heads. Are they lifting their athletes up, or are they pulling them down? So sometimes we integrate JV and varsity at practice. This is a smorgasbord of freshmen and seniors together, guys that have been playing for a long time, or guys that are new to this level or new to the sport altogether. A lot of people in Texas find lacrosse for the first time at the high school level because, yeah, whatever, cut from basketball, fall out of love with baseball, and you get the greatest sport of all time. Bias. So, yeah, and I want guys to be able to assess the energy of the team and then lift them up versus pulling them down. All of this carries over to the game for something that I refer to as the science of the sidelines. Guys are going to make mistakes on the field. They're going to be self-critical on each other, knowing that they let themselves down, they let their team down. But now, how is my bench reacting? I want high socially aware guys, if they start to lift them up, knowing that, hey, we got another opportunity. We need the next play. Whenever we give up a goal, I've instilled the mindset with my team, good teams answer. So with that, it's the next face-off. It's the next play up. So no matter what happened, we get the opportunity to answer because that's what good teams do. And guess what? We're a good team. So establishing that and utilizing that in practice, if a defense does make a mistake, there is another opportunity to it. I don't want the quicksand to fall into it. If offense makes a turnover, guess what? You have a whole lot of yardage to get aggressive and aim to get the ball back. Similar in defense in basketball. You see at the NBA level, guys run down simple layups and they're able to get it. That is the urgency and the intensity in 10 cities that I can bring to practice at a social awareness level between the whistles, make someone aware not only of their effort and how it's negatively affecting their opportunity to get playing time, but highlight their effort and how it's negatively affecting the team. And then reinforce the good. When guys do hunt down that turnover and get it back going the other way and be aggressive within their offense when they get the opportunity, that transition is a heartbreaker for other teams. So I want this sideline to then be supportive, not when negative things happen, bring the whole squad up socially. So awesome tool there. And then this is one of my favorites. I call it motivation drill. This is from when I was in college. I had two coaches. One was a dictator. One, his first coaching opportunity, 28 years old, and he was coaching at the high school level before. He brought a lot of high school drills to us. And this motivation drill, I thought it was the stupidest thing of all time, because we're out there yelling at each other, and I thought we were just making a fool. But I was more self-conscious. I didn't give the drill a chance. But now that I look and reflect on that, I'm like, man, there is so much gold here. So what it is, athlete one, and I'll throw some B-roll in here. Athlete one, groups of 5 at least. One line on the 10-yard line, one on the football goal line. So 10 yards apart. You're going to sprint 10 yards across to your team. If you're sprinting, urgency. You're pushing it as hard, as fast as you can. If you're not up, then your voice is up. So you're hooting and hollering, you're yelling out their names. Let's go, Jim, let's go. And we're clapping and we're motivating. And then I will high five the other guy on the other end. He sprints across and we're just going back and forth. All right, so we got a little motivation drill. So we're sprinting 10 yards, decelerating 10 yards. What I got them focus on is a big power step. So a plyo start, we're getting in our A frame, and I want an aggressive step backwards to drive forward and get some momentum. For lacrosse, I'm seeing how these guys are going to set up and start their slides. So they're playing defense, guarding athletic position. I want a big power plyo step backwards to propel them forwards, starting in the A frame, big drive backwards, motivation drill, getting loud, getting excited, seeing leaders lead. So this is great for self-awareness, checking the energy, self-management. Am I putting forth the urgency, the energy that my team needs for this 60 seconds of sprints? 60 seconds Chicago time, shout out Luke. I don't really keep a timer. I want to gauge the energy and see if the other guys can gauge the energy as well. So we're sprinting 10, and then we're decelerating 10 and getting back at the end of the line. Shout out to Derek Hansen's 10 and 10. Now, I'm checking in on the energy. I'm seeing the leadership. It's going to start high, and it's going to wane about 60 seconds. And then if it's low, I let them keep going. And then I call out to the captains or pick a leader on the team to say, hey, you feel that. So now creating some social awareness, and we're focusing on their words to, all right, hey, let's bring it up. Let's go, go, go. So then when they change the energy and the intensity and get it back on track, reinforce it, kill the drill, and get them back. But highlight, hey, that energy. That's similar to the waves that I experienced within the coaching the sidelines on sports, especially with lacrosse. It's just so fast. And 3 goals can happen within 30 seconds. It's so quick. So we can turn that tide by, it's not artificially creating energy. It's really just leaning into my team when I need them the most. So the science of the sidelines. Say there was that goal given up and good teams answer, and I'm one of the 10 dudes on the field, and all of a sudden I hear 30 guys from the sideline cheering my name. Jim, you got it. Jim, let's go. Jim, next play. There we go. So as a coach, what's my cue? I don't turn to them and say, all right, bring it up. That's not going to work. They're going to be still stuck in their head like, yeah, whatever. The cue is already established from practice, just like box breathing. I yell, hey, motivation drill. So turn to them, motivation drill. And then they start to hoot and holler, get up for a face-off guy, get up for the defense, get up for the offense, and they allow the energy to really reinforce where good teams answer. So powerful tool, but that took reps, programming, stress, and reinforcement in this social emotional leadership realm to prepare for that moment during the game. All right, so this is now the next phase here. So we've just a quick rundown. We had self-awareness, we had social awareness, self-management, and now relationship skills. And I mean, this is what it's all about at the high school level. 3.5% of high school athletes go on to play college. 1 point something, let alone to D1. That's not a lot. Especially here in Texas, these lacrosse guys, they are here for each other. And it is something special if we do it right. Remember forever the night that they played the Titans, right? That's the opportunity we have to really bring these bonds together. So a lot of shared suffering, a lot of conditioning, a lot of partner work to help build these relationships. Shout out Raf Ruiz. I love manual resistance strength training on the field. I don't have access to a weight room. Manual resistance strength training on the field. You are your teammates' weights. So you can't help but really develop a bond. We're in these awkward clamshell positions, manual resisted butterfly, manual resisted flies with our pecs, manual resistant bicep curls, just bringing some shop towels out to it. I got to hold and just pull up. So we're getting close, we're getting hands on, and we're starting to build those bonds together. I avoid things like wheelbarrows, anything that's going to risk shoulder here. I'm not mad at farmers' carries, but I teach them how to set up within the farmers' carries. So we're getting close contact. We're having some fun with it. It's challenging them athletically. It's challenging their conditioning, and then nothing develops. And this is from my pal Luke Summer. Nothing develops a relationship and the intensity and the all-out effort like a foot race. So just line them up. Hey, it could be farmers carry foot race. It could just be wrap around the goals. So if I get two lines, one on each side of the goal, you got to go to the other end of the goal. You got to wrap around it. So there's some potential hip checks, some potential conflict, right, around the other opposite goal, and then we're sprinting all the way back. So maybe I'm getting 150 all-out yards against somebody else, but then I have plenty of rest time before my next sprint. So that's relationship skills. Could be offense, defense. Could be seniors and freshmen versus the middle class. Mix it up, have some fun with it, and build those relationships. Sometimes, and shout out Coach Andrew Mitchell if he was at my NSCA National Conference presentation, I introduced some of these tools, and during relationships building time, I like to also work on self-management to see how they react when something isn't fair. Again, I'm trying to stress test to see where their emotions go during winning and losing. I'm going to see how they react and respond to referees when there's a bad call against them during practice so I can shape and reinforce that great behavior. So what Coach Mitchell ran into, I had two 45-pound plates. We did a relay race, just plate pushes on the turf. I had two 45-pound plates. One slid very well. Coach Mitchell's did not. So I had a 12-year-old versus big, strong Coach Mitchell pushing each other. B-roll if we're watching on the YouTubes.
And go. So speed. We're motivating. I can apply motivation drill. Little hustle. Dude, don't you coach for a living? All right, Kate is beating you, dude. Drive. There we go. So it's reinforcing. Good high knee drive, push, pull. 3, 2, 1, and time. Jacqueline, thank you for working into the example. You did just say something negative about yourself. How would you enforce the teammate? If Andrew was having those same problems, how would you communicate to your teammate?
You got it.
There you go. So now I heard that, integrate. So how would she talk to a teammate? That's how we need her to talk to herself. This is all intentional here. Everything is intentional. So we get this opportunity. Now there's a drill that is unfair. Jacqueline chose to internalize that. I step in and intervene as a coach. Some kids be like, that's not fair. That one slides. You got this 8-year-old just toasting this professional coach. What's up? It was all intentional. So putting them in situations that I can then shape and reinforce great behavior.
And this 12-year-old just absolutely smoked Coach Mitchell. And then it turned into a learning lesson. How did Mitchell react? Oh, that's not fair. No, no, no. No, he had great character. And then his partner, who he did out muscle friction and Newton's laws, hand that off to her, and then she hit a brick wall. And in her response, we got the opportunity to shape it. Let's just say that. So that's an example. Now we're seeing how they respond to each other. Coach Mitchell lifted her up, encouraged her like a great leader should. So that's a test as much as is a shaping opportunity, and then also a reinforcement opportunity if done correctly. So shout out Coach Mitchell. And the last one here is theme within SEL is responsible decision making. Responsible decision making on the field, responsible decision making during practice, responsible decision making off the field, in preparation for practice, off the field, post game, off the field, off season, where I can lean into and prepare for my moment coming up, or make an easy decision that won't necessarily put me on the best track potentially. So responsible decision making, and we need coaches. This is where we need to be the model. It is not acceptable to do the old do as I say, not as I do. Coach, you are responsible for modeling the behaviors, from leadership to how you take care of yourself, from showing up on time, from putting in work outside of practice to then help benefit them. All of it, everything that you will ask someone else to do, you are responsible for modeling that behavior and then shaping what they need to, and then reinforcing it when they get locked in. So ultimately, we're building trust by modeling great behavior, which then puts more weight towards our words when they step outside of behaviors and actions that are off track from accomplishing their goals or the team goals. They now can aim to course correct. So responsible decision making, and I think of this as smart choices under pressure. We're developing an intrinsic motivation. I'm encouraging them to make the right choice, not because I don't want to get in trouble. I'm making the right choice because it's the right thing to do for myself, for my team, and that's the goal, is to connect it to themselves and the team. They may start out by saying, hey, I'm going to make the right choice because that's what Coach Tex would do. Okay, well, I want to remind them that they're making the right choice for themselves. What I want to avoid is, I'm not going to do this because I don't want to get in trouble. That's not responsible decision making. So as a leader, we aim to define the expectations, the rules. We model the behaviors that are in line with those expectations of my team. I shape when they get off track, and then I reinforce when either they course correct back on track or they're doing the right thing. I got a lot of kids that lead by example, and I was one of those guys. But then what is going on internally? It's my responsibility as a coach to still figure that out. Are they doing this for themselves and the team, or are they doing this because they don't want to get shamed? They don't want to get in trouble. That's not the right thing. So aim to, even if they are leading by example all the freaking time, I want to try to peel those layers back and then see what are their drivers within their self-management and their decision making. Hopefully we can aim to correct it to the proper self and social awareness, and really build this team together. So guys, I've talked a lot here. I really got specific with the sport of lacrosse in the journal article. This is just a general, and I gave some lacrosse examples. But these tools can be applied no matter the sport, even if you're a strength coach, even if you're a parent. What I love, and every time I have a friend that is jumping on Old Bull, or they get into training, I ask them, or they're building a house or buying a new house, I ask them about a garage gym. Because they are modeling the behavior and the expectation for their kids that fitness and strength training is a part of their lives. This is normal from that kid growing up and seeing the friends hitting weights in the garage. That's normal to them versus weird. So love to see the behaviors defined and modeled by the parents, and then their actions are reinforcing it. So when their kids step up, they're not just saying, hey, I'm going to lift weights so I don't get in trouble, or I'm going to run so I don't get in trouble or get embarrassed. That's not great motivation. I'm going to run, I'm going to lift weights because I get the opportunity to do it with mom and dad. I'm going to run, I'm going to lift weights because it's going to make me better. I'm going to get my friends involved in our garage gym because that's what's going to separate the good from the great. Then and that's a special thing. So I reinforce every time somebody is getting on track with fitness or building a house. I aim to get that garage gym going because you are effectively doing the same thing as coach. You're establishing an expectation, you're modeling behavior, and then you're helping just normal across the board. That's a big thing. So yeah, a lot of shout outs here. Thanks to a lot of friends. I threw in some B-roll. This is a fun topic to talk about. I've been exploring it for a long time. I really get to deep dive in a new course that I'm putting out, both lecture and written. So that's a good time. If you want that, listen.captainsandcoaches.com. Like, subscribe to the podcast, all that fun stuff. I'm getting some lecture sweat over here, getting excited, and yeah, we'll be doing more of these episodes where it's me learning new stuff, exploring it in presentations and topics, and just having fun how I apply it at practice and give you those tools on the podcast. So if you want to know more, just hit me up on Instagram. I'm always there. Thank you for tuning in. Appreciate each and every one.